evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Picture. We give it all to you, and I mean, really give it all to you tonight. Have our regular crew back. We got Stephen Reichel in the house. Welcome back, Stephen.
Always good to be back with you, brother.
Always good to have you back. You're all over the place, anyways. It's great stuff. Candy's in the house.
Always like talking football with all you fine gentlemen.
Yeah, we have Ben Troop in the house
And Marvin.
and Marvin. We got them both. Don't matter. We got you guys twice a week. We'll just
Hey,
hit show on Saturday.
I'm just happy to be here, baby.
Let me tell you, that show on Saturday is really catching some steam. Ben, glad to have you back. And Tommy, wherever you're at, you're here too. So
Yeah, what happened to my picture here? Where's my?
I don't know. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
It looks like he turned his camera off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he has, but no big deal. I'm sure we'll get him some way or another. A real busy. We'll have a real busy show, so we're going to get to it. We'll take him audio, visual, whatever, and I know he'll figure it out. So I love Mel. Yeah, okay. Philip Rivers is going to be in crutches. No, but we'll spend more time. We'll have Marvin and Mel sticking to each other on Saturday. Oh, give me that. I know what I heard. I may be losing a lot of my senses. That ain't one of them. I heard what you said. Well, we'll have more fun with it on Saturday. But I do have a Philip Rivers related topic. That Philip Rivers is older than 13 NFL head coaches. He happens to be 44 years of age. I'll list the name of the coaches that he's older than. You got Steve Steichen out of the Colts, who happens to be 40. Kellen Moore of the Saints is 37. Mike McDonald of the Seahawks is 38. Ben Johnson of the Bears is 39. Sean McVay of the Rams is 39. Liam Cohen of the Jaguars is 40. Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings is 40. D'Amico Ryans of the Texans is 41. Zach Taylor of the Bengals happens to be 42. As I continue on, you got Mike McDonald of the Dolphins is 42. Jonathan Gannon of the Cardinals is 42. Kevin Stefanski is 43. And last but not least, you have Mike Kafka of the Giants, 43. Steven, my goodness, that's an awful lot of – this guy's older than practically half the league.
It would have taken less time for you to mention the coaches that were older than him.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? I have to go with him being older than the other one. Don't change the narrative. Otherwise, I'm gonna make you executive producer. Although I probably thought about it Saturday anyway.
Watch out, Mel. Mel, don't listen. Be
I'm
careful.
telling you,
Don't mess with Scott, Mel. I'm telling you.
Mel's come a long way, but listen to Marvin.
Some stuff.
Yeah,
I remember you telling me.
Yeah,
I had to tread carefully.
yeah, that's okay. But anyways, Mel, now that you're first, because you voluntarily made yourself first on this, what are you thinking about Philip Rivers being older than 13 other guys? That's a lot.
At that position, I wouldn't say that's unusual. And the coaches are getting younger and younger and younger now, which is kind of a trend with the new young guys. They're supposed to be geniuses as far as offensive coordinators are concerned. Kellen Moore, when he retired, he went right into coaching. So it's not unusual that we have that many young coaches. It is unusual that you have that old of a player, particularly given that that he's been away from the game for 5 years. I mean, Warren Moon, I think he played when he was 44 years old, but he was still playing, every year or every day. So it's unusual. I really thought he was going to get hurt, but there's still time for that hamstring to come off the bone. I don't think he got pressured. I don't think he held under the ball where he had to move too much. But it's great. It's great for him. There's a lot of excitement around it. Obviously, Indianapolis thinks they have an opportunity to do something special this year. So, but it's not going to end well. I don't believe that it's going to end well.
Don't curse him with a hamstring.
I'm not trying to curse him. I'm just being realistic. I mean, Father Time is undefeated.
You thought the guy was going to be on crutches. He still made it through at least one game. For that matter, he threw a touchdown pass, too. All right, Mel. All right, whatever. I feel a bad one. No, I really don't, because I have to get through the show and a bunch of other ones. All right. Tommy hopefully will figure it out, but when he does, we'll get a chance to talk about it. Well, all right, Marvin. Take it. Here you go. You're Saturday co-host, man.
the craziest part of the whole deal isn't his age. It's the fact that this dude been on the couch chilling for 5 years. Listen, the NFL. I mean, when you're a quarterback in the NFL, I mean, every defense, every play is drawn up to attack the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like it's every play with this dude, man, and it's unbelievable that he stood up after a couple of hits in the Colts game. You saw him get some contact, and I was worried for the guy. I really was, man. It's hard to come off the bench after 5 years and play a young man's game, play that grown man's game. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, listen, I applaud him for what he did in the last game, playing well overall. But this is, for me, this is, play to play. This is game to game. Yeah, I'm watching this dude who hasn't worked out at a certain level in 5 years. I know they say he's staying in shape. Man, he ain't doing them workouts that the Chargers and the Colts had him doing when he was an active player. So I applaud him, man. But honestly, I'm still worried about this brother. I mean that.
All right, Carolina Ponce, can I get a shout out? Yeah, I'm giving you a shout out. Glad to have you in here, buddy. Please provide us some great comments. You'll get a whole lot more than that. All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I heard Rex Ryan say that he might be 44 years old, but he can read defenses, and that's still a valuable asset for anybody in playing quarterback, any NFL team that needs a quarterback, and that he was always good. He didn't necessarily need to check down to a second receiver because he understood defenses so well. He knew which first receiver would be open. So from that standpoint, you got to be happy for it. It makes it more understandable why he did well in that first game. Right. Talking about him getting hurt, though, the one disturbing comment I heard, I probably shouldn't say his name. I think it was Booger McFarland, but I may be wrong. But he talked about how he was taking a job away from some other guy and who can't read defenses as well as Rivers. And he said that if he was out there, he'd make him pay for it with some hard hits. And the first thing I thought of was I remember a documentary on Joe Namath when he was in his last days. And he was his knees were so bad. He had been such a great player. And guys like Bubba Smith and Fred Dreyer were on the screen talking about how they had so much respect for him. And in that last year when Namath was with the Rams, when they would sack him, they would wrap him up and gently lay him down. That was the respect they had for him. They weren't trying to kill him because he was an old man. So that really bothered me.
Interesting story. I really like it, Ben. Thanks, Tom.
I mean, yeah, listen, I'm rooting for Phillip Rivers because we was in the same draft class in 2004, but football is unforgiving. And the thing about what Mel and Marvin is saying is football is not a matter of if, it's when. When they hit field, they're going to hit him. They're going to hit him because he played quarterback, not because he's 44 years old. It's just one of those things where, yes, Booger McFarland going to say things like you took an option, a job away from a player. He understood what their offense is trying to do. I think I heard something where he was coaching his son's team and they were running that offense. Phillip Rivers better be careful, man, because I understand the opportunity. He has a very unique skill set to be able to throw the football. He can read defenses, but his reaction time is not what it used to be. Football is about reading and reacting. I know what I'm supposed to do with the football, so I could just go out there and react. I don't got to think. I don't know. They're not going to show Phillip Rivers after the game when he get done with that postseason. With that post-game press conference, but that locker room is lit up. That joke is ice baths because football is one of those sports you can only do it by doing it. You can train and work out. That is not football. You got to get out there and go to the assimilation. But, I mean, they almost won the game. But Phillip Rivers got an opportunity. He's been a coach before. They trying to salvage the season. I think that head coach and that coaching staff, if Phillip Rivers can halfway even keep them in playoff contention, I think they keep their job because Anthony Richardson has been cleared for all football activities, and I don't think they want to bring him back. So I'm rooting for Phil, but 5 years away from any sport is a long time. 5 years away from football, that's a lifetime. That is a long time away from the sport. We'll see what happens this second week, but this experimentation known as Phillip Rivers, I hope it works out. But if it don't, it won't be. People say it won't work out because he's 44 years old. It won't work out because they got people on the team calling him Mr. Rivers. He is old enough to be a lot of those dudes' dad on the team. But we'll see what happens, man. The football is a crazy sport. And if Phillip Rivers can find a way to help Indy get into the playoffs with what Jacksonville and Houston is doing, it would be arguably the greatest month of football we've ever seen from a 44-year-old, not because he's doing it, but because we'll never see it again. I don't think you'll see something like this again, regardless of how it ends up.
Okay, Candy.
You know, he was just on the brink of being, with his 5 years up, he could have been voted for the Hall of Fame. He also was just, now let's face it, he gets another 5 years of health insurance as well that kicks in. Not saying that's the reason why he did it. Obviously, he loves the game of football, because if he's coaching his son, that it's something that it's in him. He loves it. But I do worry for his health, because they're not forgiving, and he's not in the same shape. You can't be in the same shape. You didn't go through all of the 5 years. You didn't go through the practices, the drills, the one-a-days, all of those. And yet here you're getting thrown into the mix. And yes, they played. Well, who do they play next week? They play Seattle. Seattle's not going to be forgiving either. Watch them come after Phillip. So hopefully he remains healthy, because we have seen a lot of good and elite and even not so good players go down this year with season-ending injuries. But you never hope that for any player. We've seen a lot of those this year, and a lot of the big-name ones go out.
Good. Don't talk about them, or you're going to mess up a few shows. I know Mrs. Information would. All right, Steven.
Listen, very happy that Phillip Rivers gets this chance. I don't care how much Cam Newton crying about how he's getting slapped in the face and all that. Don't want to hear that nonsense. And Ben already hit on that point that J.J. Watt made a tweet as soon as they made this announcement that him and Shane Steichen have been in conversations over the last 2 years, because he's been running that offense for his son's high school football team. So there's that familiarity there. That's why he got the opportunity. One, because he's still got a little bit of juice in the bottom of the jar. So he has that opportunity. Candy also mentioned that those benefits renew. Obviously, he's not going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame this year. I think that's neither here nor there. I didn't think he was going to be a first ballot anyways. But and they played Seattle last week, Candy. They play the 49ers this week.
Ah, okay.
But I mean, either way, they got a tough road. Like, in order for Phillip to do the impossible and get the Colts in the playoff, they have to beat the 49ers, they have to beat the Jaguars, they have to beat the Texans. Those are three playoff teams as we sit right now. So he's got a very, very, very large mountain to climb. Not to say that it's impossible. I'm not going to sit there and pick apart Grandpa Bod and all that. Listen, we all know that he's not in 100% football shape, but there's only one way to do it is to get in there. I think it's a cool story with everything that's going on. Phil's a very fierce competitor. He's one of the best crap talking quarterbacks that we've ever seen in this league. So it's something fun for everyone to get behind. But I will say this: he is not going to bring them back. He will not bring them back. He will perform. Hopefully, he gets out of this season unscathed and doesn't have any gnarly injuries that we've seen. That, as it's already mentioned that the laundry list of superstars that have been put out on IR this year. And the quarterbacks that have gone down over the last handful of weeks. So it's not an old man's game, but he's gonna do his best, and I think it's still gonna be fun TV to watch, fun games to watch.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He's been coaching that high school team since he retired.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's trying to make a comeback and be the starter next year.
Yep.
The high school season was over, and he knows he's just a stopgap measure. So he's decided to give it a try. I don't see what the problem is. He's not coming back next year. He's got a high school team to coach next year.
Well, not only that, one name that I want to mention, Jonathan Taylor. The more carries you get Jonathan Taylor, the less pressure you take off of Phillip Rivers. I admire the guy for doing what he's doing. But let's not forget Teddy Bridgewater as well has coached high school and been that stopgap that Tom Shanahan has mentioned. So, hey, more power to him. I'm going to get into his benefits on a later show another day, but I know it's worth mentioning a little briefly tonight. Jonathan Taylor's the guy to watch out for, and Teddy Bridgewater has followed this route, and they haven't done bad. I knew this topic was going to take a little while. I'm glad we did it early. I'm glad everybody had a good time with it, and I love listening to every viewpoint. With that said, we're going to talk about the NFL stadiums that actually have hosted high school state championships. And I'll tell you what I like about this topic is it gives these players a chance to be able to dream about the NFL, and it's actually good for the venue because they get another event. So I'm only going to list the names of the stadiums, and that's it, and their capacity. So when you're a young athlete and you're looking at these, I may be playing in one of these and stay dedicated. The first one is Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which holds 75,000, AT&T 100,000, U.S. Bank Stadium 73,000, Lucas Oil Stadium 70,000, Caesars Superdome 76,468, Gillette Stadium 64,628, Ford Field 70,000, Allegiant Stadium 71,835, MetLife Stadium 82,500, Tom Benson Stadium 23,000. That's in Canton, of course, at the Hall of Fame, where dreams come true if you're good enough to do it. Stephen, what are your thoughts about the dreams of athletes being able to start off at the high school level and hopefully end up in the NFL playing at these types of stadiums?
I think it just gives them a window into, like, the scale of some of these stadiums, things like that. Some of these kids, obviously, being able to play in their backyard, with their hometown team stadium. It's a unique thing. We were just sitting there, a few months ago talking about how the HBCU schools and Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick were playing in Lincoln Financial Field. I think it's something you should definitely continue to do, because it not just the revenue and another event and stuff like that. Some of these guys will never have a chance to be on that field otherwise. So I think it's a unique opportunity, and it's a cool thing to do, especially for some of these high school championship games and things of that nature.
Great stuff, Stephen. Candy?
I think it's great. I mean, these kids they're local, so they've been watching players play on these fields. It's an honor for them to go and play on these fields. The one thing I will say is I know in Wisconsin they don't play at Lambeau. They actually play at Camp Randall, where the Badgers play. And I know because I've actually been to the high school championship game, went to Camp Randall when the high school played there. My high school actually made it there. So it's cool. It's exciting. It's exciting for the fans because sometimes they can't afford to pay to go see an NFL game as well. But then they get a chance to go see the stadium and see maybe their kids play. The band plays, the cheerleaders are up there. Like it's an experience for them that they might not get any other way.
Mel?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I got to play in the Pontiac Silverdome. I got to play, I think, in 4 or 5 times. I think twice my junior year and 3 times my senior year. We always opened up the year in the Silverdome. Then we played the Catholic League Championship in the Silverdome, and then of course the state championship we played in the Silverdome. And it was great for us because it's cold in Michigan that time of year in late November, so you get an opportunity to get out of that weather and play indoors. But yeah, for kids, man, it's a thrill to be able to play on the same turf and that your idols played on. I remember when we played the state championship game, we had played in there on Saturday, and then on Thursday, Thanksgiving, we're in there watching Billy Sims, running on the same turf that we were just on. So I mean, it was kind of a neat feeling for us, and I think it's a neat feeling for the kids. It gives them an opportunity to dream you know, dream big, and some of those kids will never have the opportunity again to play on that field. They'll just be able to go as a spectator, but that's something that they will remember for the rest of their lifetime. Because when you play in those facilities, it's usually for a championship. So you have an opportunity to remember playing in a championship with your teammates, and a lot of the guys that I played with, I still talk to this day, and we have very, very fond memories of that. We had a reunion, I think, a couple of years ago. I think it was the 40th reunion of our state championship game. So that's a big thrill. It's a big opportunity. It's a pleasure for us to have that opportunity. And every state should do it. But particularly up there in those cold states where they have dome stadiums. I wouldn't want to play in Gillette Stadium. I guess it would be nice, but it's still cold. Outside is outside. It doesn't matter whether it's in Gillette or if you're at your high school field.
Yeah, well, Gillette has a few more teams there, but I see where you're coming from. Marvin?
Yeah, listen, growing up, I was a football nut, and football was my whole world as a kid. And, I grew up in LA and New York. And if I would have had a chance to play in Giant Stadium where my dad played as a kid, or play in the LA Coliseum as a high school kid where the Raiders play and also where the Trojans play, that would have had so much impact for a guy like me. That would have been one of the highest and greatest memories of my life, something like that. And that's something that would have, just added to my whole dream, of trying to be an NFL player. I think it's amazing that these venues are available for these young kids. At the end of the day, I think this whole thing is about pushing these kids forward. And there's no doubt that being able to play in a venue that you watch, your heroes playing on Sundays, and do that as a youth with your brothers, and the community that supports your school. That's amazing, man. That's good stuff. So I'm all for it. I wish I had a chance to do it.
Yeah. Who's left to talk about this? Oh, Stephen went down. Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I think the key thing is not only the weather, like was mentioned, and having a dome, but is the turf. Because I know from my days working in San Diego that they used to play the San Diego Championship at San Diego Stadium, and then the area grew and they split into 4 divisions. And Alex Spanos' kids played in the small school Division 4 level, and Spanos being the owner of the Chargers, then all 4 games were being played in the stadium. So that was chewing up the natural turf. I'm guessing that's one of the reasons they don't play at Lambeau. And it would cause a problem for the Chargers. They would have to go out of town for 2 weeks. The turf was all chewed up. And I know here in North Carolina, they don't play at the Panthers' home because there's 8 divisions, but they also have a lot of major college football stadiums. NC State, UNC.
Right.
UNC was the host of a lot of the games this year. And the other thing about that's special about it is it's not just the players that it's a big treat for, but it's the coaches too, that they get to work on that sideline.
I don't know what noise that is in the background, Candy, if there's anybody with us or whatever, but we'll work through it the best we can. Well, Mel, you got my wheels turning on Saturday. Now I'm going to bring this thing to the forefront.
What about Ben?
Yeah, Ben didn't get a chance to.
I'm sorry, Ben. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Ben said, "The heck with y'all."
Well, maybe that's where the noise was coming from. I don't know. We're depending on his connection. I'll wait to see if he gets back on, but now I've got my wheels turning, and we'll see if we can get on in a moment. Steve will be back on, taking care of some family matters. But to give everybody an overview of what we're going to talk about right now, after Ben gets an opportunity to address this, which he obviously is going to do. Abracadabra, alakazam. Yes, I do know my magic. I'm waiting for the magic of technology to work to my benefit. So we have Big Ben back. All right, Ben, you know where we're at on this topic about the high school players playing on NFL fields. What are your thoughts about it?
Am I back?
Ben?
Yes,
Ben,
you're back.
Can you hear me?
You're back.
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is that a yes? Is that a no?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Well, we're working on it. Everybody, we appreciate the
Hello?
participation in the chat room.
Yeah, Ben, what's
Yep.
up?
There you are, Ben.
We hear you.
Oh,
You're
okay,
live.
okay. No, I was no, okay. I was just gonna say, you know, all I ever wanted to do when I was in high school was play in the Georgia Dome. Right? My high school was not that good. When you go to the Mercedes-Benz Dome, I don't know if they do this in other states. They put every single high school helmet in the stadium. There's a section that every high school helmet is in there, and I was blessed enough to play, 5 years in the NFL. I never got to play the Falcons in the Dome. Never. I never played them. So when you think about how prestigious it is to make a high school championship and to play in the Dome, like in a NFL stadium, I don't think it gets better than that, because that's what a father and son. Look, there aren't a lot of males and Marvins in the world. That's the rarest of the rare. That's to go to college, the same one as my dad, and to go to the NFL. No, that's not happening. But high school, yes. That's when you see grown men still walking around with their rings on. So yeah, I don't think it gets better than that, because to make it to college, you got to be one of them ones, and to make it to the NFL, you got to be the rarest of the rare. But high school, I would have loved. The only time I got to play in the Dome was 2000 for the 2000 SEC championship game. I didn't get no burn. I mean, I ain't played, but I was out there watching. I would have loved to have played in the Dome, because I'm from Swainsboro, Georgia, where I sit currently right now. I went to high school at Butler High School. Swainsboro High School won it all in 2001. And if I wasn't in college, I would have went to that game. I mean, I asked my coach, could I go? He looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Coach, can I like go see my hometown high school team go? And he was like, you play for Florida. And that was a conversation. But yeah, man, I would have loved, no greater bragging right. Most people ain't gonna win no Super Bowl. Most people ain't gonna win no national championship. You want a state championship in the stadium, in the professional team stadium in your state, man. That's talking trash for life. I don't get to say that. We didn't even make the playoffs when I was in high school, but yeah, man, it don't get much better than that. I'm envious of those people. Every time I go to a Falcons game, because ain't much going on the field with the Falcons. Ain't much going on the field. I'm just looking up, at the helmets, man, and it was crazy. I mean, when I took my son to see a Falcons game, I said, look, that's the high school I went to. And he said, oh, Daddy, y'all made it to the championship? I'm like, nah, I could lie, but I ain't gonna lie to you. So no, we just supported the Georgia High School Athletic Association. But yeah, man, I would have loved to have played in the old Georgia Dome. I mean, this new Mercedes-Benz Dome, these new fans, man, they off the blank got us. But I would have loved to play in the old Georgia Dome, no doubt.
Yeah, I covered a game at the Georgia Dome. What a great place. And then they ended up tearing it down 20 years later, go figure. But I understand that
that's the shelf life of stadiums anymore. It's about 25, 30 years, man.
It does seem that way, doesn't it, Stephen? Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'll tell you what, Mel and I and Marvin talked about this on Saturday, but I think it's important to bring it to the forefront with this group, and that's it. Eastern New Mexico hired a controversial hire, but they didn't seem to think it was one. Art Briles, the ex-Baylor coach, who was fined amid sexual assault scandal and was let go as well. He was fired by Baylor anyways in 2016. Now, Eastern New Mexico happens to be a Division II school program, and the Greyhounds gave him a 3-year contract, and he ended up getting a $15 million settlement from Baylor. So Art Briles has resurfaced, Mel, at Eastern New Mexico University for the Greyhounds. Stephen, what are your thoughts about this controversial hiring?
It's Eastern New Mexico. Who cares?
Well, all right. I can live with that. All right, Candy.
Yeah, I mean, he's let's see, he's I'm just
you don't have to to way to research this one. He's got a second.
It sounds like Alpha 5 from the Power Rangers.
I mean, he's been a coach for a long time. Kudos to them for getting a coach that, has coached for a while. I mean, he's had obviously some controversy and some things that have happened. Hopefully he can make the most out of his newfound hire.
Tommy?
What he did was terrible. You know, he was covering up for his players, but it's been 10 years. I mean,
Right.
and it's a Division II school. He's got to make a living, and
Right.
and we have a guy in the White House that directly assaulted women, and he's gotten second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances.
Right.
So I don't see a problem with Eastern New Mexico kids learning from a guy who knows a lot about football and has paid his price by now.
Yeah, the Canadian Football League looked into it, but they thought better of it. But they were kicking the tires on our trials. Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I said it Saturday. I mean, we live in two different Americas. You know, you have an America where we're holding a football coach to a higher standard than we hold the man who has the biggest job in the land. You know, he was convicted of 34 felonies, found liable of sexual abuse and defamation, and yet he gets elected to the White House. And then Art Briles, yeah, I'm not making light of what happened there. You know, there were some things that happened under his watch, and yeah, he should pay the price. He lost his job. But he deserves to be able to make a living. He deserves to have a second chance. And no, this isn't the first time that somebody tried to hire him. I know he was hired a few times before, or at least one time before, and they were, people made such a stink about it that they didn't go through with it. But I do believe he deserves deserves a second chance. This gives him that second chance. He's a brilliant offensive mind. So yeah, I think college football is going to be better for him being there because of his brilliance on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, the guy deserves to make a living. I mean, he was not the one that committed those offenses at Baylor University, but yeah, they did happen under his watch. What he knew about them, I don't necessarily know. I just know what's been reported, but I do believe that he deserves another opportunity.
Everybody knows that. Oh, it's no secret, no matter who wants to mention the guy's name. Yeah, Donald Trump definitely has a record that it's well documented. I don't have to say it on this air, but Donald Trump is the person that we're talking about, the president. You know, just look up Google. You'll get the president's list of felonies, and I'll leave it at that to keep it a family show. Marvin?
This is America. In America, you get second chances, third chances, fourth chances. That's the reality. You know, that's how I look at it. You look at some of the biggest cases in the world, some of the most drama. You know, it doesn't matter if you work on Wall Street or if you was the Juice, if you was my man Mike Vick. I mean, you know, life goes on, man, and life should go on for Art Briles as well. He should have an opportunity to be able to feed his family, and good for him. And I'm sure he's learned a lot from that experience that he had. I'm sure there are things he'd do differently. Most of us are no different. Not that we've had that type of situation in our life, but you know, we've all looked back and we realize that hindsight is 2020. So yeah, man, I think he has a lot to contribute. He obviously wants to be a part of this and wants to do it. Financially, he doesn't have to do it, right? So this must be something he really loves. You know what I'm saying? So let's give him another chance and let's move forward.
Yeah, I think the Eastern New Mexico University did his due diligence before he brought him in. You don't bring a guy like that in there without doing his due diligence. That's why he got second chance. And I'm actually happy for Art Briles too. I really, really am. And he'll have an opportunity. Whether he decides to go anywhere else, doesn't matter. He's got a 3-year deal there. I think it's the right time. Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously that situation that happened at Baylor was awful when it happened, and you know the things that happened under a head coach's watch. I mean, he's the one that had to fall on the sword. I mean, I think that when you talk about a guy like Art Briles, it's never been about his ability to coach. It's never been about his ability to recruit or the offensive side of the ball. Is how much has he learned from the situation at Baylor? It's a lot going on with a head coach, from the players to the assistant coaches, to the trainers, to the equipment. It was a lot going on. 2016 is a long time ago. Right. And I think it says a lot for a team like, Eastern Mexico to say, look, we're going to take a chance on this dude because somebody was going to do it eventually. Now, these big-time schools, they kind of have to live in more of a reputation type world than these smaller schools. They're saying, look, okay, he made a mistake. And I think if you are coaches that are going to make future mistakes, you want Art Briles back in college football because it shows that if a coach like that can get a second chance, maybe they can too. Look, I'm never here to condemn these coaches for what happens. I know how hard it is to be a head coach to where everything you said go. And as long as you winning, they're going to kind of probably sweep a lot of stuff under the rug. But Art Briles is back in college football. You knew he was going to be back sooner rather than later. Coaches get recycled all the time. And hopefully he's learned from 2016. Hopefully he doesn't dodge those questions. So, I was I'm impressed that they did bring him back. And like I said, I'm like Mel, I'm like Marvin. I'm not gonna condemn no coach. Because like I always say, they put a microscope on your life and they showed the stuff you did. It is going to get ugly. You're gonna see some stuff. So I'm not here to condemn him. I'm not here to be the judge and the jury. He's college football. We'll see what he does.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: Michigan State gave Pat Fitzgerald another chance despite the hazing, and I think Fitzgerald will be fine. I'm glad for our Bryles. Let's move on to ranking the top college rivalries in college football. I'm just going to ask the group here: give me your one or two favorites, because this is a topic that could go on a long time, and we'll go from there. I'll be curious to see where your loyalties are. Stephen, I'm gonna list them all first, and everybody can go out there and think about them and decide which ones y'all are interested the most. Obviously, the first one would be Michigan, Ohio State. They're talking about the top 25, mind you. It looks like Auburn against Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, Army, Navy, USC, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Oklahoma was a good one many years ago during the heyday of the Big Eight. Miami, Florida against Florida State, Ohio State, Penn State, Florida State, Minnesota against Wisconsin's ranked in there. Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. Let's see, we got Georgia, Florida, Alabama, LSU, USC, UCLA. I know two guys are going to be jumping on that one.
It's UCLA, USC.
Yeah, I know. I'll get to you in a minute. Texas A&M. I set you up, Mel. You took the bait real well. Michigan State, Auburn, Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame, Kansas, Missouri, Harvard, Yale, Washington, Oregon, Iowa against Wisconsin, Ole Miss against Mississippi State, Clemson, South Carolina, Oklahoma State. All right, Stephen, give me one or two of them that you like.
I got my favorites two on here. I got UCLA right underneath me and USC right next to him. I have nowhere else to go. Let's start right there, man.
All right, give me another one. Okay,
I mean, listen, our Army Navy game. It's been here in Philadelphia for ages. It's one of the ones that I've always loved tuning into. Notre Dame and USC. There's another one.
Okay, well, give me three. You already gave me three. Okay,
there's my three then. All
right, Candy.
I'll give you two, but I'm a Big Ten girl, so obviously, yes, you name Wisconsin, Minnesota, but if I'm going to do the biggest one for Big Ten, it's Michigan and Ohio State.
Okay, go ahead, Tommy.
Well, the biggest rivalry is Army Navy. If you don't know that, you've never been to an Army Navy game. It used to be the two biggest games of the year when college football was more popular than the NFL prior to the late 60s, 70s. And then the Vietnam War in the 60s killed the military academies. The biggest games of the year were the Army-Navy game, which was a standalone game after Thanksgiving weekend, and then the Rose Bowl. Everything else paled. And then the Army-Navy game has come back. It's recovered from the Vietnam War and modern military. Gave themselves a 5-year commitment to the country. And it's a great game. I'll tell you what game is not a great rivalry, and it's Oregon State. I say that is Jonathan Smith is an Oregon State player and coach. He came to Michigan State, and he was surprised how intense the Michigan State-Michigan rivalry was. I guess you don't know what an in-state rivalry is.
So what are the three you're going with, Tommy?
Oh, Army Navy. Everybody else is a distant second.
Okay.
USC, UCLA, when both the programs are strong, because they don't sell out otherwise. A lot of the state rivalries, but I just can't imagine how a guy has played in a state rivalry as a player and an athlete and he was surprised how big the Michigan State-Michigan rivalry was to Michigan State fans. It's flabbergasting.
Yeah, it really is. Mel, I never know one of yours.
Well, obviously UCLA, and USC. But I've liked watching the service academies. I like watching Army Navy. I think that's a huge game. I actually look forward to it. Watching that game, the passion that those guys play with, and the commitment that those guys make, knowing that they don't get to put all the time in like we do in the weight room and things of that nature because they have other commitments. But the passion that those guys play with, the pageantry surrounding the game, I think is pretty cool. It's the only game that's played on that particular Saturday, so I think that's pretty cool. And then I like watching Harvard and Yale tee it up as well.
Well, boy, you got some good ones, Mel. Proud of you, my man. Great stuff. I was hoping somebody in this panel would bring up Harvard and Yale, and I'm glad you did, Mel. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, growing up, I was a huge fan of the Army-Navy game. Again, I was a football nerd from a very young age, and, I could watch football all day long. But I loved the Army-Navy game just because it was a football game, one, and secondly, because I have so many service members in my family, past and present. So I just have such an admiration for them. But I love that game. And then from there, obviously, as an alumni, as a fan, there's nothing better at all than beating UCLA, playing UCLA.
How many times did you beat UCLA, Marvin?
We beat UCLA about 53 times.
No, how many times did you, when you were at USC, how many times did you beat UCLA?
This is my segment.
I understand, but I'm sure people want to know. I'm sure people want to know. How many times did Marvin go home with a W when he played against UCLA?
Let me tell you something.
Sir, just answer the question.
Beating the Bruins.
Permission to treat the witness hostile. Just answer the question, sir.
Man, we're moving forward, man.
It's
0
through 4.
On Saturday, man. These two
That's
guys
why I already
go at
said
it.
we got the best rivalry right here.
0 through 4.
I know.
Old stuff.
Hey,
Anyway,
Steven, at least do me one favor on Saturday. Okay, one favor I
Hey.
ask. You got to watch our show with these two guys, and Candy and I watch.
Candy, can you look that up? The years that Marvin was at USC, could you see what years they won? Could you look that up for us?
Candy don't work for you, okay? She don't work for you. Anyway, yeah, Tom, I'm with you on Army and Navy, man. That's it's unfortunate. I still feel like enough people aren't watching that game. But it's a special game, man, and I love it.
I'll tell you one thing about Marvin. He's got more moves than Barry Sanders with Neil and Mel on this one. I'll tell you one thing, that's what makes that Saturday show real special with Marvin and Mel here at 8:00 Eastern time here on the network. Great stuff. All right, Ben.
Tune in.
Yeah, tune in. These guys are a hit. Steven, if you don't do much of anything else on Saturday, at least watch us on Saturday. Watch these two if you get up that early and comment on them. Just if you do nothing but comments with LOL, that's what we're all doing too inside. I still have to keep it under wraps. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, obviously, Army Navy is a given, but I mean, my three is. I mean, obviously, Florida, Georgia is going to be up there for me. Being from Georgia, being able to play them puppies from Georgia. Yep, and I was 4-0 against them. I did not lose to them boys from Athens. But I think two rivalries that people don't talk about enough. Listen, the Iron Bowl is serious. Auburn, Alabama, it is serious. They shut down the whole state, and a rivalry don't get as much love. It's the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, it is big too. So. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida, Georgia, and obviously, you're talking about Auburn and Alabama because, like I said, I remember back in the day when Texas, Arkansas used to be a huge rivalry. Texas, Arkansas used to be huge. Not as much now, but it's a lot of rivalries out there. I mean, I played with a guy that went to Yale. And when I was with the Titans, he used to talk about don't sleep on them boys from Harvard. And I'm like, yeah, well, if I need some financial advice, I'll call him. But I do respect Harvard and Yale. I'm not saying the smart guys play football too. But Texas, Arkansas is one that I used to like too, and I will give love to Texas, Ohio State. I'm sorry, not Texas, Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Texas, Oklahoma.
All right, well, that's okay. You can have 5. You deserve it. I don't care. You got your own show, by the way. I do want to make an announcement. We'll have an opportunity to do that. This is really important. I am proud of the fact that Marvin and I are going to be doing our own show. Marvin and I will talk about the details a little bit tomorrow when we talk. And, of course, Ben Troop and Steven, they do their own thing. I'm proud of all three of these guys. You talk about three
Marvin's
incredible.
also on with me and Ben on Wednesday mornings too. Don't get it
Oh no,
twisted.
I know. That's what I said. Three of these guys, Steven. Three, 1, 2, 3. I can count that high. Okay, I think I don't know anywhere. Whatever,
Yes,
Steven.
you can.
Yeah, all right,
Lying
good.
to
I'm
the
glad you.
people.
Ah, that a boy. You're the best. But anyways, Marvin, Ben, Steven, and of course Marvin and I are gonna have our own show as well. Marvin and the Mike and Motor Mouth. I'll tell you, how do you like that one? Candy working on the logo. Like you say, Marvin, she's working for you as well. Mike, Mark, make it work. Okay. Now let me get to mine. Okay. I like Michigan, Ohio State, no doubt about it. As a Michigan born and raised person, I'll definitely put Michigan State in it. But the one that I've been around a lot more than any of them happens to be Miami and Florida State. I enjoy covering that game. There's a lot on the line. They play in the same conference. I actually made it to Tallahassee a couple of years ago, and of course, not only that. So I'm going to put Miami, Florida State. Doesn't get talked a lot about here, but it's one that I really respect. Michigan State, of course, the big daddy of them all is Ohio State, Michigan, and a bucket list item I will say is Army, Navy, without a doubt. So with that said, when Ben comes back, we'll take this thing a little bit further, but we will anyways. And we're going to continue the Army theme as well. And I have a little piece of information on Navy. We're going to get to our NFL stuff moment shortly. But here, get this: Army does not offer NIL deals to athletes. As a service academy, head coach Jeff Monken said these guys are making money now that nobody in their family has ever made. So there you have it. No NIL deal, but they're making good money. That's being part of the service academy. Stephen, some thoughts?
They're part of the U.S. government. They're not going to pay them boys. Come on, stop playing.
Exactly. That's my point. Thank you for making it even more. Candy?
Yeah, they're prohibited from engaging in NIL because they are federal employees and cadets committed to military service, meaning they can't hold outside jobs for pay, creating a unique situation where Army thrives on tradition and long-term career focus rather than NIL money like other football and colleges.
Tommy?
Yeah, it's the Pentagon that won't let the players make money. But as Jeff Monken, the Army coach, says, if you're trying to sell your company, what better representative would you want? The future Army officers, Navy officers, or Air Force officers, somebody who's already committed to defending their country. So it seems a little backwards to me in my mind. And now it's kind of doubly working against the academies because in the academies, first 2 years you can leave anytime you want, and then they have what's called affirmation day. If you return for your junior year, you are committed to your next 2 years plus 5 years of military service. If you were to drop out after your junior or during your junior or senior year, you have to pay back all that scholarship money. You don't have to do it after your freshman and sophomore year. So if these guys, and so now Army, and I'm sure it's happened in Navy too, I'm more familiar with Army players that had a big sophomore year, and they got offered money. There was a receiver that went to Iowa State. And so the Army's losing players for that simple reason. I understand the federal policy, but it's become like a lot of things that hurt the Army-Navy rivalry and the academy football in the 60s during the Vietnam War when there's a backlash against military. This is something that needs to be updated.
I never knew that. Thanks for the information, Tom. Appreciate it. Don't worry about that. Navy a bit in a moment. Mel, that's a lot they just said.
Just so everybody knows, Marvin was either 0-4 or 0-5 against UCLA, depending on if he redshirted during that time.
Well, you were determined to get that one in here.
My crack talk staff over here, man, they got the information to me. I got a little staff.
That crack talk staff was you as you had time to pause between your segments. But Marvin, he was determined to give it to you. That's why you took the Barry Sanders approach and dodged it. But that's okay. You guys can hammer it out even more on Saturday. All right, Mel, what are your thoughts about the Army?
One of the reasons why I like watching the Army Navy game is because these guys play simply for the love of the game. That's why I like watching it. So, yeah, obviously we understand why they can't participate in NIL because they're federal employees. Really, they're property of the United States government. United States government. And so that's one of the reasons why I like watching these guys play, because they truly play for the love of the game. And then they have so many other commitments. So I mean, they've made a commitment to the United States, and then for them also to be able to go out there and play football, that's really a bonus for them. But you see the passion that these guys go out there and play with, and the camaraderie that these guys have, and that's why I like watching the game, because they don't have to do what they're doing. They didn't have to make that commitment. They could. A lot of these guys are good enough ball players where they could have went somewhere else and played, but they chose to to serve the United States of America and to serve it in this way, and then they get an opportunity to play football. That's why I like watching the game. I mean, like I said, all the pageantry surrounding it, and just the fact that it's the only game that's playing, and then the different venues they get an opportunity to play in. I mean, there's times where I'm like, man, that might not have been a bad deal. I mean, just looking, just looking at it, it's like, man, that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. For me, it's not anything that I would have done. I think I did get a letter from one of them. I didn't even open it because that wasn't even a consideration for me to do something like that. But I just don't have that in me to do that. But that's one of the reasons why I like it, because they're committed to what it is that they're doing, and they're playing the game, because they absolutely love the game.
I'll tell you one thing. When I had to apply for selective service many years ago, and my dad went to the post office, he was petrified, because at that time, the American hostages were being held in Iran, and it was ugly. And my dad was nervous. I mean, he served in the army, and as well as an uncle of mine, Jerry. But when I had to do it, my dad, I tell you, his heart absolutely dropped. I did what I had to do, and that never went. All right, Marvin.
Yeah, listen, people join the military for different reasons, but the one thing that they all commit to is being there for us. These men who make up the football team and the military schools, they're there for a bigger purpose, different purpose. They have a different passion and a different level of commitment. So, for all those reasons, I love them to death. The fact that they can't get NIL, listen, I think Tom alluded to it. Listen, this is a business at the end of the day. They're making money on these commercials, this through the conference. So it wouldn't shock me if you saw certain exceptions made, just based on the real importance of that game and being able to have a certain quality athlete. The fact that these men are able to compete against schools that have NIL athletes who have have players that are 3, 4, 5-star in some cases. It's remarkable. And when you look at, Navy, for example, they had a really good season. They're out there beating scholarship kids. They're beating elite athletes. So, yeah, this is really a great game. And I hope to see these guys be able to make some kind of money just based on their commitment to that game.
I will say this much. It is a bucket list of mine. So let's go on to the Navy part of this thing. Navy, no NIL, no problem. I'll tell you one thing about the Navy football. I mean, this is really unbelievable that, and let me just go back to it, that they have won 19 games in the last 2 seasons. Navy's won 19 games last 2 seasons despite no NIL resources. They defeated Memphis on Thanksgiving 28-17. They've beaten Oklahoma in a bowl game. And of course, like Army, they're not allowed to benefit the NIL, great government employees as well. Again, this team, no matter what, they keep winning, Stephen. Navy, I'm telling you, if anybody that follows the Navy program, they're awfully good. And let's not lose sight of the fact that they've had some great athletes and a lot of different sorts. I think who was one of them, David Robinson and Napoleon McCallum have come out of there as well. And let's not lose sight of the fact that Roger Staubach were there. Stephen, take it from there.
Nothing to really add to this and on to the next.
Okay, well, that's fine. We're saving them for the NFL stuff. Go ahead, Candy.
Yeah, again, I mean, Navy's under the same as the Army. They can't, no NIL money, but it's an honor to play for those, for for the Navy or the Army, for both of them. And so many kids would look up to them because not only are they serving their country, then they're also getting to play the game that they love to play as well. So it's an honor for them.
Tommy?
Yeah, and also don't forget that Army won 10 games last year. Um, I'll take a little bit of a detour since we're on Navy, and I pretty much made my points earlier on Army. About 10 years ago, Keenan Reynolds was the quarterback in Navy. Great player, and he finished fifth in the Heisman Trophy voting. And Navy, the Army Navy game was played the same day as the Heisman Trophy ceremony, right? Navy said they would put him on a helicopter after the game and fly him to New York if he could be part of the presentation because he had such a remarkable season. And for a Navy guy, an Academy guy to finish fifth in the Heisman Trophy voting is remarkable. And the Heisman Trophy Trust Fund wouldn't work with him. Compare that to this past Heisman Trophy presentation with this Diego Pavia guy. He sends out a tweet saying F you to the voters because he finished a distant second to Fernando Mendoza, who deserved to win over Pavia. Who does this I talked about this last week. Who does this Pavia guy think he is?
Yeah.
But what a disgraceful story on his part.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mel?
Well, I talked about it. I talked about Navy in the Army Navy game in the NIL.
Yeah, now we're just talking about Navy by itself. I mean,
well, look, I mean, they run that one of those offenses that's very difficult to defend. Now they've kind of adapted it a little bit to current college football where they run it out of the shotgun, but it's still basically the same offense. Their quarterback really can't throw the football that well. I think he was their leading rusher when I was watching the game. So they still run that version of the triple option, but they just do it out of the shotgun now. So that offense is very, very difficult to defend because you don't see it a lot. And that's pretty similar to what Vanderbilt was doing. And you get the right guy to run that offense, it's very, very difficult to stop because it's not something that you're used to seeing. So I mean that's always neat, and I liked it when they ran the triple option. Both of the service academies, it's just kind of neat to watch them hide the weenie, and that's all you're doing. You just kind of hide the weenie, and you just kind of got to figure out where the ball is going. Your eyes will lie to you as far as where the ball is going. You got to be real disciplined in your fundamentals and watching your keys in order to be able to stop that type of offense. But I enjoy watching that offense.
Okay, Marvin, you have the last word on this. We'll go to a station break after this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Navy has been a proud program for a long time. You had mentioned how they've done well the last couple of years, winning 19 games, and even before that, they had I got their coach. They had a longtime coach, Ken something. He was there for a while.
Olo, first Samoan head coach in Division I football.
There you go.
Didn't they fire him? Did they fire him?
Yeah, but prior to that, I mean, they had a stable program. I mean, they had some competitive seasons, and had some upsets and some really proud moments. So yeah, Scott. Navy.
I think he went to UCLA, didn't he?
And if he did, we don't.
No, I'm talking about afterwards.
Yeah, he was an assistant of some kind. I don't know if he was on the field as an assistant. I think more in the background of the program support.
Yeah.
But yeah, Scott, Navy has a proud tradition, and they even recently have found ways to remain relevant.
Okay, now it's time to go to a station break. When we come back, we're going to talk a lot NFL talk, a lot of it to talk about. Go ahead, Candace.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. If you know anybody that's thinking about getting into the media business, this is a great gift idea for them. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise, sponsor a show, or just be a guest on a show, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. And then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
Well, all right. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, I knew that would get Reichel's head really up there. Now he's looking. He's ready, and now we'll use bobbling as a bobblehead. All right. Anyway. The Eagles got back on track with a 31-0 win over the beleaguered Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll, oh my goodness! I'll tell you, things are rough there at 2-12 for Pete, and Geno Smith doesn't look very good at one. The Eagles lost 3 straight at one point when they dropped to 8-5 by virtue of a loss to the Chicago Bears. In that game against the Bears, the Eagles allowed the most rushing yards against a Vic Fangio defense since 2005. They had 281 yards, but quarterback, the 2 running backs that did a lot of damage were for the Bears were Kyle Monadagoy or whatever his name is, 130 yards and a touchdown, and DeAndre Swift, we all know about him, 125 yards and a touchdown. That's what the Bears did, and obviously that was an important game, but the Bears, like anything else, I know they're one of the favorites, and we'll talk about them in a moment, but Steven, at least the Eagles were able to get back on track, and they really, to me, made Shedeur Sanders look like a guy that obviously belongs in high school.
Well, when we're talking about the 30-1 drumming that the Eagles put on the Raiders, that's a get right game. Let's keep it real. It wasn't anything that kind of put hang your hat on. You should beat inferior teams. I think the more impressive part was the Eagles' defense held their offense to 75 total yards, and the Eagles' backups had 79 total yards in that fourth quarter. That their second stringer scored put more yardage on the tape than the starters did in that game. I mean, I've been saying it all season that the Eagles' offense is the most dangerous when they get everyone involved. If you look at the numbers, when AJ Brown and Devontae Smith aren't over 100 yards, and you also put Dallas Goedert in that mix, that's when they're the most dangerous. When Saquon finally wakes up from his winter slumber and figures out how to run the ball again, I think you'll get that other level that you've been missing since last season. I don't think I'm super excited about beating up on the Raiders, nor will I be excited when and if we beat the Commanders next week. I've had the Bills game circled since the beginning of the year. Right. You're going to Buffalo. You're going to go play Josh Allen, and he's been the magician the last few weeks. He's organized 2 straight weeks of 21-point comebacks on the Cincinnati Bengals, and then last week against the New England Patriots, who all intents and purposes are the number 1 seed there in the AFC. So if they do what they did last Sunday against Buffalo, then you can have my attention and say that they have everything back on track. It was a get right game. You should beat up on the Las Vegas Raiders no matter what anyone says. And obviously, I think when you say what the identity of this Philadelphia Eagles team, it is the defense. So I mean, if anything, I would be more impressed with what the Chicago Bears were able to do to them versus what the Los Angeles Chargers did. The Chargers took advantage of Jalen having a bad game. There was the bad drops. But, they were able to tip a couple balls and get interceptions off that. Bravo. You should actually, take that win, and that should be a good win for the Chargers. But I don't think after beating up on the Raiders that everything is sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay, Candy.
any given team, if you put a really good offensive line on any of the teams in the NFL, any quarterback could look really good. And I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts doesn't look good, but look at the Bears. Look at Denver, what they're doing. I mean, Eagles, yes. If you have a good offensive line that isn't injured, and that's part of the Eagles' problem is they've had injuries that have hampered the offensive line. And I think when you have injuries to key players, and we don't give offensive linemen a lot of credit, but yet you need for a good quarterback or even a mediocre quarterback to have time to throw the ball to your receivers and not to be rushed. You have to have the good offensive line. And that's part of where the Packers had problems against Denver on Sunday. And I'll be honest with you, if they don't figure that out, they're going to have problems against the Bears on Saturday night, which I hope they don't. But that is part of playing the game, and I think there's a lot more parity in the league this year than there ever has been before.
Well, keep in mind, I'm not saying the Eagles are on track with the Raiders, but you needed to get rid of that 3-game losing streak, and they took care of business. That's it. You don't get excited about them. You don't want that losing streak to become 8-6 like the Detroit Lions are at 8-6 on the outside looking in. But yeah, the Eagles have a lot of work to do. They're defending Super Bowl champs, and people are out to get them. It's just a game where, okay, the streak is over, and that's it. Turn over to Tom.
Oh, well, I was going to say, all the NFL teams go through their skids. The three
Right.
games skid for the Eagles looked particularly bad because the offense wasn't producing. But the Eagles always have defense. The offense, it's harder to say if they're going to gain some consistency to make a playoff run. But I'm not surprised by anything in the NFL. There's always ups and downs.
Mel?
I mean, Philadelphia did what they were supposed to do against the Raiders. That was an opportunity for them to boost their confidence. The problem, you have to understand, Saquon Barkley has not forgotten how to run the football. Teams have schemed. The scouting report is stop Saquon Barkley and make Jalen Hurts beat you. And the problem is Jalen has not been able to do that week in and week out. Now, the Raiders aren't a very good football team, even though Saquon Barkley didn't go off. But I mean, we know when Saquon goes off, what that team can look like. It opens up a lot of different things. Now, if you stop him, you commit to stopping him, and you make Jalen Hurts beat you, then they're an average football team, and they're missing. They got to be able to run the football when everybody knows they're going to run the football. When everybody in the stands know they're going to run the football, and the defense knows they're going to run the football. They're missing Lane Johnson. That's a big cog in their wheel that they're missing on the offensive line. So we know the offensive line is not playing as well as it did last year. But all the teams are committed to stopping Saquon. They're not going to let him go for 2K again. They know what that looks like and how difficult Philly is to defend when Saquon Barkley is running wild. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to commit to stopping him, and we're going to make Jalen Hurts beat us. And that's why the games have been the games have been so close. That's why their record is the way that it is. That's why the offense has looked out of sync all year long, because Jalen has not been able to make the other teams pay for making him throw the football. He hasn't been able to make them pay week in and week out. Every now and then he makes them pay. Jalen, if they're not wide open, if they're not running wide open, Jalen doesn't throw the football. He's just going to tuck the football and run. He's going to eat it. He's going to throw it away, whatever. So the offense just looks very stagnant. He needs, when Kellen Moore was there, that offense looked entirely different. Kellen was a big part of his success last year, and a big reason why they were able to win the Super Bowl last year is because of Kellen Moore. Now he's no longer there. Now they have somebody else there. They may be running the same plays, but being an offensive coordinator is more than just calling plays on a play sheet. It's a lot more than that.
Marvin?
The NFL season's a long season. I've watched the Eagles play bits and pieces throughout the season, and I've seen them look bad too many times for me to believe that this is going to be anything close to a championship year. Listen, they end the season playing the Commanders twice, and they play Buffalo in between that, okay? I expect them to beat the Commanders both times. And for me to believe that this team is back and they've got it together and they're going to be on fire moving forward, they got to beat Josh Allen. If they could beat Josh Allen in 2 weeks, that'll show me that this team is ready to go and do something in the playoffs. But right now, I think it's fool's gold. I think they drinking last year's champagne. We've had our conversations about Jalen Hurts and is he elite? Is he top 5? I'm a guy who, he's won the championship. He's taken his team there twice. I give him that, and he's a good player, yeah. But I'm just watching this guy sometimes just play, bad ball, in my opinion. So let's see what they do the next 2 weeks. Jury's still out on them. It's a long season. Listen, they're up 3 games to the Cowboys, on that division. So I definitely see them going to the playoffs, but I got to see more just because of the inconsistency.
The only thing I'll say about this as we close them out that we go on to our featured topic of the night is the Detroit Lions could have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles, but Dan Campbell went 0 for 5 on 4th downs. That didn't help matters any. Nevertheless, you win games ugly, and the Lions are on the outside looking in. The Eagles are still in the playoff hunt. But we'll go from there. Our featured topic of the night, obviously, is the Bills. The Bills defeated the Patriots, and obviously the rest of the NFL better take notice. They ended up storming back by beating them as they actually rallied from a 21-0 deficit and won 35-21. The Patriots' 10-game winning streak was snapped, while the Bills overcame a double-digit deficit for the 3rd time this year. Buffalo obviously has now had 10 wins in 7 consecutive seasons. Steven, you said this was a game you're looking for. Are you impressed with what you saw in their win over the New England Patriots?
How can you be impressed with a team that's lost to the Atlanta Falcons? Please tell me that. How are you impressed with that?
I'm asking you the question, so I don't have to worry about it. You answer my question.
you lose the Falcons, right? I get it. It's a crazy league, but then you also lose to the Miami Dolphins. I get it; it's a divisional opponent, but the dysfunction that has been going on down in Miami is hilarious. I'm not impressed with them. I'm not scared with what they're doing. Are they a team that you have to take serious? Absolutely. They have Josh Allen. They have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's healthy. He has a running game. He's formidable. He's a big bruiser, and he has a never die, never quit type of attitude. So you have to take him seriously, but impressed with looking terrible through 3 quarters of a game, and then finally decide like, oh wait, we've been sleepwalking for 45 minutes. Let's go play these last 15 minutes like it means something. You have to finish ball games at the end of the day. So, I'm not impressed with a 21-point deficit over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are dead ducks in the water. Now, I could be mildly impressed because the New England Patriots have looked very good this year with Josh May, and they are the class of the AFC at this point in time. But to sit there and say the league has been put on notice. We know who the Buffalo Bills are. We know who they are. Just like as I just said, I wasn't impressed with what the Eagles did last week. We know who they are. The question with Buffalo now is, can they win in January? If they can win in January, then we can have another conversation. But they haven't. They haven't been able to get over the hump. Now, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs just took a giant obstacle out of their course, but we've seen this before. We've seen that some of these quarterbacks that couldn't get past this guy or that guy, and then they have their opportunity when they're not there, and they find their ways to choke themselves out of playoff games. If the Buffalo Bills played like they did the last few weeks against good, tough football teams with defenses that travel and can play in January, we're going to talk about another disappointing Buffalo Bills season. So I'm going to hold off reservations of sitting there saying they put the league on notice. We know who they are. They're a tough team. You got to play them tough.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm impressed with your segment, though. That'll be a good build-up I'll definitely make sure one of the topics is to preview that Bills game against You guys. Okay. That's good stuff. Food for thought down the road. We need a few teasers. Candy, go ahead.
Yeah, Buffalo. They led in sacks against the Patriots. The Patriots led in interceptions thrown, fumbles, although they didn't lose them. Buffalo dominated in time of possession. 35-24 is a pretty big margin there. Um, Buffalo punts. They had four. Patriots had three. Buffalo was 1 for 1 on fourth down. Patriots 0 for 1. It just makes a big difference. I mean, Patriots, they have the record 11-3, but who have they all beaten as well? Mike Vrabel has them playing a lot better. But we'll see what team shows up for the Buffalo for the next couple games to see who we really have. But again, I've said this, there has been more parity in this league this year than any other league. Let's face it, look at where the Chiefs are. Who would have thought the Chiefs would not have made the playoffs? It is the first, I mean, this will be the first time since 1998. No Peyton Manning, no Brady, and no Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Okay. Great stuff. That'll be a topic for another night. At least you've let the cat out of the bag. All right, go ahead, Candy. Tommy. I got Candy in my mind.
Yeah, I always like to see the Bills win because
Seriously,
I get to see a team come close so many times and fall short. I always feel bad for a team. And the other thing about the Bills is, they're from an old American Rust Belt city, and the franchise has never picked up and gone somewhere else, like the Chargers up to Los Angeles, where they play in the shadow of the Rams. And so I like to see a team like Buffalo succeed and overcome all the things they face.
again, I'll reiterate 1 second. Okay, and that's this: 7 consecutive seasons with 10 wins is pretty darn good. Okay, go ahead, Mel.
The show for it.
Oh well, I knew you were. I was waiting for you to say that. Okay, go ahead.
The show for it.
Yeah,
So
thanks
the
to
question
Patrick
was,
Mahomes.
the question was I surprised? Is that what the
Yeah.
question was? Were we surprised by the Buffalo win? I think you saw a young football team and you saw a veteran football team, a team that's been there before.
Right.
And I think you saw a young football team going at halftime and, not realizing, hey, man, this is 60 minutes. And you saw a football team that understood that, hey, this is 60 minutes. What happened in that first half, let's forget about that and let's go out there and let's win this second half. And a team that came out there on fire in the second half and a team that was kind of rested on their laurels in the second half. And I think, New England's going to be good, but they're young. They're not there yet. Buffalo, they've tasted it before. They've been to the playoffs. They know that this is a great opportunity for them because there's not going to be a Joe Burrow. There's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes, and may not be a Lamar Jackson. They have to deal with. This is going to be the best opportunity for them to get to the Super Bowl that they've had in a long time. And Josh Allen, he's a big time talent. Doesn't have a whole. The defense is not as good as it used to be, but when you have that guy playing quarterback in the way that he's been playing quarterback, you have a chance to win. And I know that he wants to get that monkey off his back. So he's going to pull that team and push that team to get them to perform at a level that they may not believe that they're capable of, so that he can finally get that championship that he's been desiring for such a long period of time, but that he's been denied, I should say, for a long period of time.
Okay, Marvin.
As a Jet fan, as a lifelong Jet fan, I hate the fact that these teams are in my division and these young gun quarterbacks are as good as they are because the Jets are so far off from these two organizations. We saw a classic, man. We saw something that we're going to be seeing for the rest of our lives on ESPN, 30 for 30 and instant classics. Two quarterbacks, young in their prime still going at it. Ultimately, the senior, the two, Josh Allen, MVP, reigning MVP, will probably win MVP this year. He'll be in consideration at least. He showed who he is. Josh Allen is him right now. He is him. Great comeback win, great win. I don't think Buffalo, outside the running back, I don't know that they have a ton of talent at receiver, super explosive guys, but he's making it happen. So yeah, this will go down as a classic with two great quarterbacks. I think, as I said, Drake May is the real deal. We're seeing that young. He's showing us not so much what Lamar and Pat showed us in year 2, but he's showing us something like that, right? So we know this guy is not fool's gold. They have something in New England there. So yeah, it was great. It was a great game if you love football. Great if you're an AFC East fan. And I think Josh Allen is just on his way to an MVP season.
Great stuff all the way around. So look forward to having Ben next week. Obviously, had some technical difficulties. What I'm going to do, though, out of respect to Ben, is I had an Urban Meyer topic I was going to talk about. I'm going to wait on that next week and add more Florida coaching news to complement it. And we'll stay with the rest of the game plan here today. With all due respect, because he's a Gator, I want to make sure he gets to take a piece of that action. But I'm going to talk about the Miami Hurricanes instead, because obviously during the opening week they defeated Notre Dame 27-24. Obviously, the loss haunted the Irish. Well, obviously, as a result, declined an invite to a bowl. We talked about it on Saturday. But the good thing is these two teams will meet next year in South Bend, and Candy and I are looking to go to it. So anyway, Stephen, I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts about the Miami Notre Dame rivalry?
It's one of the top rivalries in college football. It probably will be for some time. So it's unfortunate. Notre Dame shoots themselves in the foot with how they go about business as a college football team, seeing themselves on the outside looking in for the college football playoffs. Maybe this is a matchup we'll see when they finally decide to nut up and pick a conference to kind of play in instead of doing the nonsense they do to try to maximize their money. So greed cost them this year, and hopefully they'll go back, lick their wounds, and finally make a conscious decision to be a part of college football as a whole. Other than that, listen, this is going to be one of those rivalries that we'll probably be talking about, as much as the other ones that we'd already named for the next 30 years, 50 years, however long this earth decides to spin, it'll probably be one of the bigger rivalries. So, not much to really else add to that one. Candy, you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rivalry because these are two historic franchises that have been around for a long time, and that makes a big difference. And they've played each other how many times? So, yes, Miami got them this year. It'll be interesting to see, next year. Yeah, Scott, I can't wait to go. I've never been to Notre Dame to a game, so that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, it's a rivalry that dates way back, and whenever you have those that go way back, it's always good.
Yeah, that's a bucket list item Tommy and I have talked about before. I'm sure you've probably been there. Candy and I are looking forward to it. And I've seen a few Miami Notre Dames before. I've seen them whip the Irish and seen some classes, but we saw the opening night of the year was just truly unbelievable. And let's face the fact that the Irish lost 2 games to Texas A&M and Miami, and that's what cost them an opportunity to get into playoffs. And I'm not. We talked about it a lot on Saturday's show with a boxing match between Marvin and Mel. If you haven't seen our show on Saturday, people, what are you waiting for? These two guys are unbelievable. I mean, these guys. I mean, I'll tell you, it's like Steven does a lot of boxing shows and all this mixed martial arts and all this. What is it? Bare knuckle fighting and all that other stuff. But I'm going to tell you something, people. Watching these two guys go out there on Saturdays is like watching it all over again. And by the way, Stephen, just so you know, an FYI is on January the 7th, they're going to be coming on, and Marvin's been drafted to come on that show too for No Limits. So we're going to talk to Will Person, and we're going to also talk to Jennifer Horspool. We'll talk about a lot about CTE as well as some of the other things that are important. That'll be in No Limits, and we'll also talk about Marvin's upcoming show at that point as well. So, Stephen, that by popular demand, Will Person and Jennifer Horst will want more of you, and I'm dragging Marvin into this one so he gets used to some Wednesday nights with us early and later. All right, Marvin, just to give you a heads up, he's my team player. All right, so who have I not? So Tommy, go ahead, take it from there about the Canes.
I'm sorry. Miami Notre Dame is not a rivalry.
You don't think so? Okay.
They never played before 1955.
Okay.
They only played a couple of times, and then in 1971, they started playing annually. And Notre Dame would win almost every single year. And if it wasn't for Howard Schnellenberger, Miami wouldn't have started winning games. And if it wasn't for Howard Schnellenberger rebuilding the program, Jimmy Johnson probably wouldn't have cared about that job and then taken Miami to another level. It was a 10-year rivalry fueled by the ESPN age, which included the ridiculous 30 for 30 convicts versus Catholics. That's a story. Some dumb guy who had a chance to be a walk-on player on Notre Dame basketball to live out his dream throws it all away so he can sell T-shirts simply because some slogan caught on. I'm not buying it. It's not a rivalry. They had to quit playing. They didn't play after the 1990 season. It's not a rivalry.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, Tom, he kind of stole my thunder, but yeah, it is really not a rivalry. It gained steam with that whole Catholics versus convicts. Miami wasn't good, prior to the mid 1990s. So Notre Dame was dominating that series. The one thing the conferences can do if they want Notre Dame to acquiesce is they could simply not schedule Notre Dame. I mean, ACC has kind of done them a favor by with this little agreement that they had to play 5 ACC games. If the Power Four conferences would not schedule Notre Dame, then Notre Dame would have to make a decision. They're going to play a group of 5 schools and think they'd be considered for a national championship. So I think there's a couple things working. I think there's money out there. I think the networks kind of like Notre Dame being an independent, because if they really wanted Notre Dame to join a conference, all they got to do is squeeze them out. And they got, Notre Dame has to make a decision. You put them in a corner, they're going to make a decision. They're not going to stay they wouldn't stay independent. They'd have to join a conference.
All right. Yeah, that's a storyline we're going to be monitoring a lot, and that's why I wanted to bring it in front of this group as well, especially with Tommy on the panel, because if there's anybody that knows about college football more than you, I'm looking to find him, because I got him sit right here on our set, and Mr. Shanahan, who will be, by the way, who will be on the Sports Exchange tomorrow night. He'll talk more about the Shanahan report as well. Love to have Tommy. Been a good friend for a while. All right, Marvin.
Listen, Notre Dame has chosen to make that independent money, and they prioritize that over winning championships. That's the bottom line. And the fact that the AD is going on this national tour crying to everybody is embarrassing. Right. This is what they created. They want to make money. You know what I'm saying? They got a huge endowment, and it's the NIL era, and they trying to make this money, keep it for themselves, and not have to share with these conferences. Now, with that said, I will admit, I think the committee was wrong for having them ranked in the top 12 pretty much the entire season, and then at the very end kicking them out. That was cold-blooded, But everything that everybody said, what Mel said, is correct. They should be squeezed out. They should be forced to join. I think they're in line to join the Big Ten, because the AD already said that the relationship with the ACC is forever, is gone. It's whatever word he used. So I guess the ACC is out of it. So yeah, Notre Dame, come on, join us in the Big Ten.
I've been waiting for that one for years. All right, let's go rapid fire on this next topic. I want to get a couple more in there. Can you see Mike McCarthy's name resurfacing in the next coaching cycle? He's 185, 123, and 2. Rapid fire, Stephen. Yes or no, and where?
Don't care.
Well, that's none of the above. But okay, go ahead, Candy.
I do see him resurfacing. I do see him in the NFL, but I'm not exactly sure which team.
Fair enough. What about you, Tommy?
If he gets a chance, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because all of Jerry Jones' coaches enter the graveyard after they've coached for him. Even Jimmy Johnson had nothing but 500 teams with the Dolphins, and he had that embarrassing playoff loss that ended his career. So, has there ever been a Jimmy Jones fired coach that resurfaced successfully? I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Chan Gailey went to Georgia Tech, didn't he?
All right. Well, go ahead. You answer that. You just went ahead and volunteered to be the next person on this one.
Well, I'm kind of like Steve. I mean, it does. I mean, the NFL loves hiring these retreads. If they're going to give him another opportunity, they need to make sure they give some other folks, some minority candidates, an opportunity as well. You kind of know who he is. Yeah, I'm sure he probably will get another opportunity. I mean, he's not a bad coach. I'm not saying he's not a bad coach, and he doesn't deserve another opportunity. Where he ends up, I really, I don't care as long as it's not Detroit.
Well, no, I don't think it'll be Detroit. I think Dan Campbell'll stay for a little while. Marvin?
I think as long as we're seeing these elite or these top universities starting to get ran like NFL organizations with GMs and just the structure, I think a guy like that who apparently is a player's coach could have a future, not just still in the NFL, but at college. So it wouldn't shock me to see his name resurface somewhere relevant.
I'll tell you what I have on this one. I see him resurfacing with one NFL team only, the Tennessee Titans. And I'll tell you why I think he could go there. Number one, obviously they need a coach. Number two, they have a guy by the name of Cam Ward, and he's a good offensive coach. And number three, they need a big name because they'll let Mike Vrabel go. The only job that makes sense for me as far as Mike McCarthy is the Tennessee Titans. If I'm right, I expect everybody to tell me I'm right. I don't need anything else. But I'm following my instincts on this.
What if you're wrong?
Well, if I'm wrong, well, I'm sure you guys will stick it to me too. But I'm not worried about being wrong.
I'll say this one: if he goes to Tennessee, he's going to have GM control just to clear out the nonsense that's been going on there in Tennessee.
And you know what?
If that happens.
What you said is a very fair statement. He needs a lot of control. And if Tennessee is so desperate they want him, they're going to give him an awful lot more control. Steven, for a guy that had very little comment, the one comment you made was a bullseye, where in the eyes of Jimmy Walker, if you were alive back then, it was dynamite, but I don't want to lose my voice. I'll have to use it a lot later in the week. But no, I think Tennessee Titans to me is the most likely place to go. All right, let's talk about a random drug test a few weeks ago. The doctors discovered that Broncos linebacker Alex Singleton had a testicular cancerous tumor they removed after Denver defeated the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. Singleton says he expects to return very soon. Pretty inspiring story how they ended up making this discovery, right, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, definitely no stranger to Alex Singleton. Anytime he was on the field, I wanted to pull my hair out watching him play in 2020 or 2023 rather. But he's made a home out there in Denver, and and it is a unique situation, having one of those random drug tests and
right.
Having him to discover that, having the surgery, and I think he's scheduled to be back this week, or if not, he had already returned to the field. But I mean, all the blessings to him that you're able to catch something like that early on. A lot of us, a lot of times we always pick on the NFL because after these guys have these great performances, 9 times out of 10, there's a note pinned to their locker, and they got to go take a random drug test. Cam Little, had that big field goal to reset the NFL record. Guess what was on his locker when he came back in? A random drug test. So it's funny how a random drug test is basically save Alex Singleton, some trouble, so to speak. But glad to see they got in front of it. Glad to see that he's on the mend and potentially going to be back on the field soon.
Candy?
Yeah, I mean, random drug test, you have to do. They have to do it. I'm glad that they found what they did when they did, because who knows if and when they would have found it if they didn't do this drug testing. So hopefully they can take care of everything, and everything will be on the up and up afterwards.
Tommy?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I guess the cancer that he had escalated his testosterone, which led to all this. So it's a very interesting story, and that also that he's been able to recover from it. But it makes me wonder. These guys in the Tour de France are always coming up with the crazy excuses for why they tested positive for something. I'm afraid this gives the Tour de France guys another excuse to make.
Boy. Okay, go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of lucky for him that he did have to take that random drug test. Because if you're able to catch these things early, you have a much greater success rate. That's one of the things that's obviously good about that. And it just tells you, hey, man, you need to make sure that you go to the doctor because the earlier they're able to detect these things, the better chance that you have to recover and be able to go on with the rest of your life. He played. I think he missed only one game or something like that because I think they had a bye week. I think he scheduled a surgery during a bye week, and I think he only missed one game, so he's already back playing. So I mean, that's a blessing for him that he did. I mean, sometimes that's just how God works. And that so that he could get that test and find out that something was going on with him and be able to deal with it and hopefully he'll live a long and healthy life.
Yeah, well, more power to him. It is amazing what a random drug test can do. In this case, it actually saved his life, right, Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I think about is his family. I don't know his family structure, but if he's in this world, he has to have had a mom and a dad, and cousins and uncles, and if he has kids, a wife, girlfriend. These are the people you think about in those moments, man. When you get that kind of news, football becomes very small. Your celebrity becomes very small. What it comes down to is you realize how close you are to not being around the people you love the most. So great story. Anything that brings cancer awareness or testing awareness, even though this was an accident, I'm all for it. And, just happy for him and his family that things are going to work out. And then for all his fans, obviously, who admire him for what he does in the field, happy for them as well.
Okay, another interesting topic. Glenn, I have a couple running backs on here because there is a split in coming. 49ers plan to avoid the guaranteed money on wide receiver Brandon Ayuk contract to 2026, citing reasons a failure to fulfill contractual obligations. He's missed meetings and declined to participate in other team activities in recent months. This guy is he's toxic if I've ever seen a player that's toxic, Steven.
Listen, I seen this coming a mile away. First off, he didn't want to. It's not he didn't want to do team activities. He was doing his rehab with his own people on his own time. He said he was ready weeks ago, and I think this is all about them trying to not eat that contract. They're trying to find a way to kind of avoid it and just you know kind of go another way. But I think it's funny. We look at this team. What we're less than 2 years removed from a Super Bowl trip. Now both Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk is finding their way out of San Francisco.
Right.
Like, listen, I know Brock Purdy has got them 49ers back on track. He was a little banged up throughout the season. Found his way back in there, but they're a tough football team. They got 9 wins at this point in time. That they're looking like they're going to have to come to Philadelphia for the first round of the wild card. So. A lot of good things going on in San Francisco, but this one's got to really scratch your head. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, next season wind up on one of these teams hungry for an additional weapon. Maybe he finds his way to Dallas. They don't find a way to re-sign George Pickens. I can see him added another piece to the Texans. And we were just talking about the Tennessee Titans. If you get a coach and you get a new structure put in there, and you want to give Cam Ward a weapon, that'd be another optimal lining spot. But it really makes you wonder, how did you have the 2-star receivers basically run out of there in 2 consecutive years? and one via trade. This one looks like he's going to be cut and or released. But weird situation. Brandon Ayuk is at one point in time was one of the best route runners in the league. He gave my Eagles fits in that 2023 season that saw them win the NFC. So it's gonna be interesting to see not only what happens with it, but how do you replace that? Because if you look right now, that's probably one of the few weaknesses that the 49ers have is that wide receiver room is getting thinner and thinner by the day. So gonna be interesting to see how it plays out.
Candy.
Shanahan said, "We've been playing this receiving group all year. I really have been hoping he would come back all year, but not at one point was I really planning on it. It would have been a great bonus. That would have been awesome. We'd love to have BA out there. We'd love to have that type of player, but it's something I realized early on wasn't going to come for a while, and there was nothing that made me sit there and think it was going to happen soon. I think the rest of the team he thinks of the rest of the team also. Adding to the drama, Ayuk has not been with the team at all, and so the indicators are there that he's severed, completely severed, with no chance of an eventual reconciliation with them at all. It's sad because he just signed a 4-year, $120 million contract last off season. So it hasn't, it's not been that long, but I think there's more to the whole story that we're not getting. But yeah, Shanahan said he hasn't seen him in forever. And so what other choice do they have?
Well, what was there a list that they just put him on recently? I know you were telling me.
Unable
reserve
to
did not report or something like
unable
that.
to perform list when he was rehabbed. Mm-hmm.
So that means he's done. All right, go ahead, Tommy.
He's got $27 million in the bank, on the table, I should say, with the franchise, and he can't show up for rehab. Well, this guy, I don't have any sympathy for him at all.
Yeah. Okay, Mel.
I think there's more to the story than what we know. I only hear same things that you guys hear. I don't know exactly what's going on there. I do believe that the 49ers are trying to get rid of him and not have to pay him as well. I would expect the league to file the PA rather to file some sort of grievance on behalf of Brandon to try to get his money back. But again, I don't know what's going on, how close he is to being ready to play, any of that stuff. I really don't know. We just know what's coming out of there. I think that Shanahan's just toting the company line, saying all the right stuff. But I believe in behind closed doors, he's saying something entirely different. I believe that, because if I'm a player and I have that kind of money on the line, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure I get that money. Whatever, I'm going to show up, and do what I got to do to make sure I get that money. Because, Marvin, it's very difficult out here in the real world to create a dollar and to make a dollar. It's very, very difficult. Now somebody's just giving you money and all you have to do is show up to rehab. So, I think there's a lot more to this story than we know about, and I'm sure it'll come out, within the coming months.
All right, well, you segued over to you, Mark. Go ahead. Also, just a reminder, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, Marvin, myself, Mel, and Candy go at it on another edition of Inside the 15. Marvin, and then after that, one more topic, and that'll be all she wrote for tonight.
Listen, contracts, aren't based on emotions. There's his agent, and I don't know all the details. I don't know the whole story. I'm sure there's more than to it, but his feelings don't matter. You signed a contract. If you want to get your money, if you can't play, fine, but you go to the meetings, you go to rehab. These are things that you need to do, and your agent should be telling you this. Again, I don't know who pissed him off or what was said or what was, all that, but it really, sometimes it don't matter, man. Listen, go to work, play the role. If you ain't happy, cool, but if you don't play on Sundays, fine, but show up to the office, show up to the rehab, do that part of it. It's really an unfortunate situation. I wouldn't be shocked if the PA got involved here. in some degree, because that's a big contract for them to try to void out. And obviously they're not just going to lay down and let that happen. But yeah, I don't. There's an obligation by the player, even if you're not happy with your boss or your coworkers. You know what I'm saying? You still got to come to work. That's my take.
Well, my take is he's held out for more money, got the more money now, and why he's holding out. All I knew is they need to run him out of town, and that's the final topic of the night. Are the Chicago Bears for real? Well, I'll tell you one thing: Cleveland Browns found out the hard way, getting whacked 31-3, and made Shedeur Sanders a high school quarterback. They're 11-3. We all know that Ben Johnson's done a marvelous job turning around. Steven, real quickly, are they for real?
I mean, I don't know if they're title challengers or anything like that.
Right.
I think they have a lot of the right pieces. When you've replaced 4 out of your 5 linemen during the offseason to one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league in the 2024 season, you're going to have a turnaround. When you bring in an offensive line, a mind like a Ben Johnson, you are going to have a turnaround. When you bring in a guy on defense off of waivers like a CJ Gardner Johnson, you're going to have some swagger on that side of the ball. So I'm not surprised they were one of the teams I felt that was going to be, a much improved team, a potential playoff team. 2 weeks ago they were the number 1 seed after thumping my Philadelphia Eagles. So they are where they probably should be. They're one of the handful of teams that have more than 10 wins. They have a young quarterback who likes slinging the ball around. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do come January, come playoff time. That's what I think everyone should be looking forward to. Regular season's one thing, but when everything gets tighter in January, how's that team going to respond?
Candy?
Can I respond after this Saturday's game, considering they play my Packers at Soldier Field Saturday?
At Soldier Field, but you're missing Micah Parsons now.
Oh, seriously? You gotta stick it through that way.
You just lost your superstar on defense. It's you're in some a little bit of trouble right there, Miss Candy.
Next
Hey,
man
you
up.
better not get in trouble with her too much. Remember, she helped you out. Don't piss her off. Well, you're right about Micah Parsons, but remember, be nice to her at least until after they lose.
I'm
Don't
always
give it
nice
her
to
now.
Candy, even if I'm ribbing her, giving her a hard time.
Well, you're giving her a hard time. Okay, whatever. And by the way, when you get your next bonus, I had something to do with it. Just so you know that, okay? And you'll probably be getting one sooner than you think, right? So, okay, so stay tuned. Go ahead.
Let's just say the Packers did beat the Bears the first time of the season. So it'll on at Lambeau. So it'll be interesting to see. Yes, the Bears are a much improved team. They've improved a lot from where they were. Part of it is, I think Ben Johnson is doing a really good job with Caleb Williams, and I don't think any of his previous coaches took the time to really find out what Caleb's strengths are and how to coach him. And I think he's doing a much better job of that. Do I think they're for real? I've said any given team, any given Sunday, depends on who they're playing and what injuries are on the team that they're playing, because we've seen a lot of big key injuries this year as well. So I'll reserve and we can talk about it next week.
But now, Steve, you don't have to rib me when the Bears take on the Lions at Soldier Field because I already know it's going to get ugly. So don't even waste your breath. You may need it on the show next week, but I know it. I can handle what you get to her because right now the Lions are in deep trouble. Okay, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, they've had a remarkable season, but they're a young team. They don't have playoff experience. First-year quarterback, or a young quarterback, I should say, playing his first playoff game. That's usually a recipe for a first-round loss to a team that might have a lesser record but more experience. And then the only other comment I want to make are why are the Packers and Bears? Why is TV scheduling the Packers and the Bears to play in late December, a night game in Chicago? It's ridiculous.
Money, Tommy. prime time. That division, Tommy. Okay, Mel.
Yeah, that division is great, but that's brutal. I mean, when the sun goes down, it's tough, man. In
Yeah,
Chicago,
that's true.
that's cold. Uh, I don't. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't think Chicago would be this good this fast. I knew with Ben Johnson that they would be improved because they got a grown up in the room now, and they have somebody who can really coach the quarterback position. Brilliant offensive mind. Chicago wasn't devoid of talent. That wasn't the problem. They just had a lack of leadership there. Now they got a leader there and a head coach who holds people accountable. They're able to go out there and execute on offense. And so when you're able to do that, you have a good chance to win. They play good defense. But as I think Steve would alluded to and Tom alluded to as well, but there's preseason speed, there's regular season speed, and then there's playoff speed. And these guys have not experienced playoff environment yet in the intensity, the pressure, and the speed of the game in the playoffs. So that's something that you kind of have to learn. You have to go through it so you have a better understanding of it. And then the following year, I mean, they might get lucky and win one playoff game, but each playoff game, it ratchets it up another notch, the speed of the game. So do I expect them to make a run for the Super Bowl? No. But could they win a playoff game? Yeah, it's very possible they could win a playoff game, particularly if they have one in Soldier Field, because it's very difficult to play in those elements.
I know I've been on Soldier Field many times. The Lions played there, and when they scheduled those games in December, I know I had hiking boots, 3 pairs of socks, and I was loaded upstairs. When it came to a lot of shirts, and I had long johns. That tells you what Soldier Field is like on Lake Michigan. It is cold, it is windy, but it's a great place to go. Not the new updated version, but the old one. With that, to me, was sacred. All right, Marvin.
The number one issue that the Detroit Lions have is that their offensive coordinator from last year is gone. Ben Johnson, listen, this guy is a quarterback developer. We've seen it. We saw it with Jared Goff, and we see what's happening with Caleb. Right. He knows how to lead a team. Obviously, you look at their record. What they're doing right now is historic for them. So the one thing they have is they have a head coach. We know that. The other thing they have is a generational quarterback, number 1 overall draft pick in Caleb Williams, who is playing better, playing well, not turning the ball over like typical guys do for a second year. And when you have a head coach and you have a real quarterback, and you look at Denver, for example, then you're on to something. So when you ask, are the Bears for real? The Bears are for real. They're going to be for real for a long time. You saw what happened when they solidified that offensive line. You see their run game. You see Caleb coming out doing his thing. Yeah, this is not smoke and mirrors. This is not fool's gold. The Chicago Bears are back. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
The only thing I'll say is Caleb Williams has over 3,000 yards. Ben Johnson has every bit to do with that. Stay tuned. We'll pick it up next week. I know Candy may or may not like it, but we'll see what happens over the weekend. Great show tonight. Ben Troop will be on better than ever next week. We'll talk a lot more Florida Gators football because they've obviously had a lot more movement with the coaching thing. So we'll save that over for a part of the show. There's some important things we had to address then. But meanwhile, Steven, why don't you let everybody know how to get a hold of you and some of the things that you're planning for the network. Go ahead, Steven.
As always, just type my name in there. Steven Rochelle. It should easily pop up. Facebook, Instagram. The handle for both X, YouTube, and TikTok. Steve Sports Talk 1 is right underneath my name there. You can catch me, Ben, Marvin tomorrow morning at 11 to 1 p.m. here on the South Florida Tribune. We had already launched in the past month a Philly sports talk show with Eagles content creator Justin Ferrillo. And as of this moment, Sunday, I should be sitting down with UFC, Bellator, and BKFC veteran Houston the Assassin Alexander. Should be hopping on with me. So he's got a bare knuckle fight going on in Omaha, Nebraska, early in January. Got a lot of fun stuff playing. We're 19K away from 1 million views here on the channel. Yeah. So the giveaway is getting closer and closer. and it's almost a complete certainty that Eddie Prather's going to be the one that walks away with it at this point in time. But we're also getting closer to 2K followers on the channel as well. So guys, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities for multiple different giveaways. The Crystal Van Wyck interview, she said she's going to throw us some signed gloves to do for our next giveaway as well. So we got athletes donating stuff. We already got a few of our guys on air, got some stuff for some of our giveaway packages. So just make sure you guys are engaged.
Great stuff, Stephen. Of course, don't forget, Saturday mornings, we have another edition of Inside Picks, and Candy and I, Marvin and Mel, we go at it, and I watch these two go. It's unbelievable. So 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. I know it's early, but these guys are energized early. Candy, quick station break, then we'll turn over to the rest. We have about 2 minutes to get this business accomplished. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It talks about his 40-plus years in the industry, how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, sponsor, or be on a show, you have to email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to our channel. I don't know what you're waiting for. Just do it. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn on all your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Tommy, go ahead. Put it out there.
Tom Shanahan .report, Shanny4055 on Twitter. Today at the Duffy Doherty building, new football coach Pat Fitzgerald would have received a package from me of my books, the two best books in the country on the full story of college football integration. You can go to my website, tomshanahan.report, and buy those books.
Tommy will join us tomorrow night, Sports Exchange of the Shanahan Report. Tommy will give us an update about what's going on with the Shanahan Report, won't you, Thomas? He'll give us some updates about your writings and all the good stuff that everybody can find. You're a great writer, author, and you'll have an opportunity to get more than 30 seconds around, probably about 2.5 minutes if you want to go that long. Tomorrow night will be yours. All right, my friend?
Sounds good.
All right, Mel and Marvin, take us home.
Yeah, you can catch me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. Follow what we have going on here for the youth in Georgia and in Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay, Marvin.
Marvin Powder III, Marvin on the mic. You can catch me here with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, and Saturday mornings.
Tomorrow night, Sports Exchange, Candy Ebling will have a Christmas party. Stephen will be the producer tomorrow night, and we'll have the crew. We'll have a good time. Stephen's a jack of all trades. Proud of this guy. Boy, am I ever proud of this guy in more ways than he'll ever imagine. But that does it for this edition for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. I want to appreciate all the people that have been looking in on the show.
Pigskin, Scott.
Yep. What did I say?
You said it. You talked about baseball.
Oh, well, I'm thinking baseball, too. We had a great show last night. Inside the Big Ten. Baseball, I'll tell you one thing, though. We have 2 shows of baseball, too. We do a lot. But, all right, just to show you when I talk fast, I don't talk fast accurately like Candy Ebling does. She's no better. She learned from me, but she's eclipsed me in that department. But so I'll do a video and audio replay that does it for this edition of Inside the Big Ten. Loud enough and accurate or not, you know it. So on behalf of my great crew, Stephen Reichel, Ben Troop, Candy Ebling, Tom Shanahan, Mel Farr Jr., Marvin Paul III, Scott Morgan, Motor City Madmouth, thank you for joining us. Lots of great programming the rest of the week. God bless everybody, and we will see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on the Sports Exchange. And, of course, we have Saturday. We'll have some great shows then. God bless everybody. Enjoy the football. Bye now.